War is a 2007 film directed by Philip G. Atwell. I get the feeling that he might have been a director for hire, but I will look him up and see what else he did. Name doesn't sound familiar though. This was also written by Lee Anthony Smith and Gregory J. Bradley, and this is about the best definition that you can get for like a B movie skeptical action movie kind of thing. You got Jet Li and Jason Statham, two of the biggest stars of the time, and still two huge stars today. I haven't seen Jet Li do too much American action as of late, but Jason Statham specifically is still going strong. And yeah, this film is absolutely badass. There's a lot of great things about it. There's a lot of memorable things about it. This is my first time watching this film in quite a while. I'd say probably more than 10 years since I've stuck this on. And there's a lot of things that happen in this film that I had forgotten about, which is cool to revisit a film like this because I remember watching it a lot when, I was pretty much in my early 20s. When I first watched this film, I was probably 20, maybe 19 or something like that. And it's a fun ass film. It's a pure B film, and it's got a lot of character actors and people that show up that are pretty legendary and kind of eat up the screen and chew up the scenery kind of thing, which is always nice. But what we have going on here is a pretty simple plot that's also convoluted. And every time I think of convoluted, what I think about is a premise or a plot that's not necessarily complicated, because essentially what we have going on here is we have Jason Statham's character playing John, who is a police officer who, because of personal reasons, is very vindictive and obsessed with tracking down this criminal, this killer who, struck a chord with him and really, really hurt him in a personal way, who's Jet Li's character, of course. And Jet Li is this basic, like, rogue assassin guy who kind of works for everybody. He doesn't really have a master, and he makes that clear throughout the film. I have no master, therefore I owe nobody, kind of thing. And he works for the Triads, he works for the Yakuza, and you never know really what side he's on. And it's just Jason Statham's character, John, trying to track down this guy who calls himself Rogue. Or he actually goes by Victor Shaw, but we'll get into that. He's a mystery man, essentially. But yeah, at the beginning of the film, Jason Statham and his partner are basically in this dock area, like this boating area, and there's a gun battle and everything, and then they're having it out with the Yakuza, and then they end up getting the guy that they were after. And then we flash into where the Jason Statham's partner Tom Lone. Tom Lone is his partner, and he's now with his family at this like cabin in the woods area. And then there's a home invasion that happens, and this assassin comes into his home and basically assassinates all of them, including his wife and his child, and then burns the place down. And the film opens up like this, and this is the vendetta that Jason Statham's character John gets in himself to go seek vengeance is after this situation happens. So 3 years later, the film flashes forward to 3 years later because B movies do this all the time. They have something happen and then it's like 3 years later. Or they do it in reverse sometimes. It's 3 years before or 5 years before. Anyhow, 3 years later, we are in this club scene, and the club is called Club Zero, and it's I think, Yakuza club. And this assassin, this mysterious assassin, again, played by Jet Li, comes in, and he's shooting up the place. The action scenes are pretty cool. This film does a lot of that traditional B-movie editing where everything is very flashy and very, like, quick cut. So if you're not into that, and I know a lot of people aren't, it might distract some people, or it might some people might find that it makes the movie feel cheap. But I just think it gives it that aesthetic. I don't love it. I think there's much better editing styles, but it's definitely that kind of movie. And in this club scene, there's a scene where this Jet Li's character straps a bomb onto a dog and then sends the dog off into the room filled with all the Yakuzas. So if you're not into doggy death, might want to avoid that part. Although you don't see anything, it's just kind of suggested. You see the bomb on the dog, and then you see the explosion, kind of thing. So afterwards, Jason Statham's character comes in. His name's John, like I said, comes to investigate this explosion thing. And there's a survivor, this Yakuza guy. John's like, "Did you ask him anything?" And then the cops are like, "Are you kidding? Who can understand that shit? They come into this country, you would think they would learn to speak American. You would think they would learn how to speak American. You realize that American is not a language, right?" This bugs me so much about people and films and when these situations happen when it comes to languages. It's just so stupid how any other language is ridiculous to English speakers or vice versa or whatever. Like if you don't understand a language, therefore it's gibberish. Like it's not even offensive. It's not even like a whole racial thing like it's racist. It's just stupidity, and it shows the lack of intelligence and complete sheer ignorance of the person to just assume that like, oh, why bother learning that? Why? Who gives a fuck about any other language but English, or in this case, American? Like it just shows the complete idiocy of the person, right? And then Jason Statham, of course, has the best comeback. He's like, "Well, maybe if you took your job seriously, being in a town full of or in a town full of Yakuza, you would learn to speak a little Japanese." And then he insults them in Japanese. And then he starts to have a conversation with this guy trying to get information in Japanese. So you get Jason Statham speaking Japanese, which is complete badass. Jason Statham, I swear, is the man I would want to be, honestly. Like, if there's a man on this planet that I would want to be, it'd be Statham. Statham's the man. Statham is the shit. Even in bad movies, he's still Statham. Like, he still just delivers badassery like nobody else can. So does Jet Li. Jet Li and him, like, coming together for a film, you can't get better. I mean, you can, but it's a good combo. So John, played by Jason Statham, like I said, is spending the whole film trying to get this guy. I mean, this guy lost his wife. He lost, he basically lost his family because he's so obsessed with finding this guy. He finds that the bullets match the Yakuza type bullets, so he's trying to track down all this evidence to go find this guy, played by Jet Li, who goes by, a few different names. And then you have, like, corrupt cops, playing a part in this movie. There's a lot of triads versus Yakuza. You have Jet Li kind of playing both sides. You find out that he's mostly working for this guy named Shiro, which is a Yakuza guy. And he has a daughter, Shiro has a daughter named Kira-san, who is played by Devon Aoki. And Devon Aoki, for those who don't know, is Steve Aoki's sister. And Steve Aoki, for those who don't know, is a really famous, in my opinion, not so good DJ, but he's definitely big in the EDM scene. He's famous for throwing cakes. I'm sure you've seen that guy with the long hair throwing cakes instead of playing good music, but anyway. Devon Aoki, who also showed up in Sin City. She shows up in Sin City. Beautiful girl, I mean just gorgeous girl, is in this film, and she plays a really badass character. And she, like I said, is part of the Yakuza. She's the daughter of this kingpin, Shiro, and Shiro basically gives Jet Li's character most of the missions, and Jet Li is mostly working for him, but he still remains rogue because he also attacks Yakuza at the same time, kind of thing. And what this film builds up to, essentially, spoilers again, this is a spoiler review, is the fact that at the beginning of the film, during that home invasion, when Tom Lone was assassinated, essentially, he survived the matter, and he got the upper hand on the assassin, and then saw the assassin's face, and then completely transformed his face through plastic surgery in a span of 3 years to become this Jet Li character. So Jet Li's character for the entire film is Jason Statham, John's previous partner, who was introduced at the beginning of the film. And John gets the suspicion that it is him, because there's always these conversations that they have that the eyes are the only thing that plastic surgery can't transform. This is a total B-movie plot, by the way. I love it. And John's always getting the suspicion and always trying to get Jet Li's character, he, like I said, he goes by different names. He goes by Victor Shaw and Rogue, but he's always trying to have him confess, like spit it out, like, "Are you my previous partner?" kind of thing. But Jet Li's character is, for the whole film, very mysterious, and I love his persona because Jet Li has this thing about him that he can be so badass without saying anything, and he's quite a silent character in this film. Outside of busting out some like really great quotes and stuff like that, like you will only experience pain if you live in the past or stuff like that. And every once in a while he's always silent, but every once in a while he'll like drop this badass quote that that is awesome. I love a lot of the action scenes. All the action scenes in this film are really good. All the shoot 'em ups. There's this beautiful sword climax at the end, and I am an absolute sucker for wuxia stuff, for katana use, sword battles, sword fights. I love all that shit. And there is a beautiful sword fight between Jet Li and the guy who plays Shiro at the end of the film. That's beautiful. There's this one scene at the beginning where Shiro is having this battle, like this kind of honor fight with a student or something like that. And the student makes a mistake and he's like, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to make a bad move or something." And Shiro's like, "The fault is all mine. I made the wrong move." And then he walks away and he turns around and slices the guy's ear off just real quick, and you just with a sword, and you just see the ear on the ground. I thought that was badass. There's a scene where Jet Li, he has a sword. The sword is still in its guard, and he takes the sword, he sticks it in this guy's mouth, like the guard in this guy's mouth, pulls the sword out of the guard while the guard's in the guy's mouth, and then he stabs the guy in the stomach. Loved that. I actually think Jet Li is given a lot more choreography, and when it comes to action scenes, I think he's given a lot more than Jason Statham is. But when you get to the climax in the finale where you have Jason Statham and Jet Li facing off with each other, I think that was cool. The very ending is, I think, where it got the most convoluted, because you get this plot reveal where the whole home invasion in the first place was because of John, and John kind of told Shiro where his partner was going to be, and I found that kind of strange and a little bit stupid, because why would John sell out his partner like that and rat out his partner like that? It didn't seem like something that John would do, and it kind of played this whole idea of like, oh, it was just business, oh, I did what I had to do. But I can't see John doing that. Like, the way his character was built up, and his attitude and who he was as a character, his morality, didn't really seem like that's something that he would do. But regardless, it they face off with each other, because at the end, Jet Li's character, who now we know is his ex partner, is given the information that his family was basically murdered because of Jason Statham giving the orders. And that fight is beautiful. Like, the choreography and the set piece, where literally everything is destroyed, like pillars and walls, and they're just throwing each other at the through fucking walls and everything, and just like on tables and shit. It's just excellent. It's action packed. I really, really had a good time with this film, and it's one of those films where if you love Statham, then you're gonna have a blast with it, and if you love Jet Li, then you're gonna have a blast with it, and if you love both, well, then you're gonna have a blast with it. And Devon Aoki too. Like I said, the girl is just so sexy. It's not even funny. There's this scene with her where she comes in and she comes into these yakuza like workers of hers kind of thing, and she plays big boss, and she's like, "Are you disobeying my father?" And then she like holds them at the neck with some knives, and she's like, "I just got off of a 14-hour flight and I feel like a salad." And she's giving him instructions to like order her a salad, but leave the blue cheese on the side, and like serve the dressing on the side and stuff like that. And I just love how all of that played out because of like her look, and just how sexy she is. But anyways, I'll stop drooling over Devon Aoki, but love seeing her in this, and also love seeing her in Sin City. But yeah, that's really all I got in this film. Like I said, because of the simple plot, there's not a whole lot to talk about other than like the great action spectacles, which I already explained some some of my favorite scenes. Louis Guzman shows up in here randomly. I love Louis Guzman. Like, he's one of those guys that just shows up in movies. And I had totally forgotten that he was in this movie. So you see him pop up, and he's, Louis Guzman kind of thing. He's a character actor. And yeah, it's a fun blast all throughout. So a lot of good to be had with this. I ended up giving it a 3.5. I wanted to give it a 4, but there was just certain things when it came to the convolutity, I guess. Convolutity, there you go. That professionally, I couldn't make it to that full 4 because there was just some things, and there's still that like really really B levelness of the movie. But it's definitely a lot of fun, even with its flaws. It's still so good that it easily merits a 3.5, and maybe with another watch, I'll just have even more fun with it and bring it right up to that 4. But it's a very, very high 3.5. It's probably like a 79 out of 100 or something like that. So, yeah, a lot of fun. I had a good time with it. And go check out War. I'm sure by now it's streaming somewhere, or I'm sure it's very cheap to find. So, yeah, it's a good flick featuring two badasses. So, can't go wrong with that. Can't go wrong with Statham. Can't go wrong with Lee. It's really good stuff. Subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you'd like to listen to my voice or if you like my film reviews. I'll be back with more soon, so stay tuned for those. Check out what's on the channel already. Stay tuned for what's coming. Until next review, have a good one. Take care and cheers.